there's more of an opportunity for junglers, I think, to actually showcase some creativity, to potentially look for more ganks and actually plays on lanes instead of just always having to be glued to objectives time and time again.
And especially with that happening this week specifically, because when you look at the LTA schedule, we've got a lot of those top half versus bottom half matchups. And if you're a bottom half team, I think you're actually really happy to have major changes to the game, to the systems of things when you're going up against the tougher squads, because now you have an extra lever you could pull. If you understand the changes better, if you have a better grasp on this new version of the game, that could be the edge you need to get a dub here. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Draft is already underway. Nefiri, Yone, Ezreal banned out by FlyQuest. Shopify taking out the Varus and the Vi. So if nothing else, we're not getting Varus Ezreal here in the first game. Nico, last ban of the first half.
Yeah, my question is Kalista priority going to remain high with the nerfs that came through? I'm expecting it to have really fallen off because it wasn't even performing that well in the LTA anyway. You know, even globally, it was only like slightly above 50%, and a lot of that was kind of carried by some of the really dominant players on it. You look at guys like Paze, who were doing really, really well on Kalista and stuff like that. So I am kind of under the impression that it is probably gone. We'll have to see, you know, if Nefiri, who got some more nerfs as well, is going to be, you know, still getting banned like it was in this game, most games. I am interested to see the shift in those prios.
Okay, well, the first pick here, FlyQuest will go ahead, lock the Azir for quad. The response from Shopify, a Jayce Sejuani combo for the jungle and one of the solo lanes.
Yeah, and it does feel like it's potentially setting up, you know, for another melee solo laner here, you know, for the side of Shopify. We'll have to see if they are going to go for it and exactly if what they want to pair with it. Inspired has been hovering on this Nidalee for quite a long time. If it gets locked, I wouldn't actually be super shocked to see it go up top for Bwipo, because if you've been watching his stream, he's playing a lot of Nidalee top, and it is actually quite strong. It's very heavily used just kind of as this massive lane bully, basically. You know, you really can push out a lot of players. Corki going to get locked, though, so Corki should be going bot. We have Azir going mid. We're waiting for a melee pairing here from Shopify. Cassante did just get buffed, but I wouldn't be thinking about that as the potential pairing. Akali, you know, could be what we would see if they want to go for something aggressive. That's a strong answer into the Azir and something that used to be used a lot, but Akali isn't that popular these days. But it is a good answer into the Azir, and it's a strong pairing with the Sejuani.
We'll see what they want to lock in here, as that could be an interesting one. Okay, Sylas picked up. I'm honestly not super surprised by this, considering we already see the Zhao on the other team. It's not as effective as like an Alistar ultimate, but these powerful defensive ultis are always a prime target for Sylas to seal.
Yeah, I mean, it's another good answer into the Azir. Also, you can steal the Azir ulti, you know, and look to really try to trade aggressively with the Azir, scoop them in. Two potential ganks here from Contractz, and it is another melee pairing that they can use. You're going to get banned out. I do think that's a pretty smart ban. You're playing against Bwipo, and it is a good matchup into the Jayce, and it is something that got nerfed in this patch, but only for jungle, not really for top lane, so it is still a very strong top lane pick there.
And I mean, you even heard in the Player of the Week interview that Raz just did with Bwipo from last week, when he asked him what is an underrated champ that people should be playing right now, Yorick. That's the answer. So keeping that away from Bwipo, 100% agree with that decision. Lucian removed here from the side of FlyQuest.
Yeah, that's a little bit interesting. We have seen some Lucian pairings. We've seen a little bit of the Lucian Nami. We saw Lucian Melio as well. Also going to get a ban of the Scion here, which is another strong Bwipo pick and a good answer into the Jayce. Bwipo still has a lot left in his pool, so it would be interesting to see where he goes. But of course, you know, some of these top laners are going to get denied by the fact that there is a Sylas. You know, when you think about good answers into Jayce, one of the things that I always think of is things like Malphite, but of course you're never going to pick Malphite when the other team already has Jayce. You're never going to pick Alistar when the other team already has Jayce. You know, some of these picks do kind of get denied just by the fact that they are actually playing the Sylas.
All right, Kalista will be that final ban. So a little bit of an answer to your previously posed question. They have enough respect for it that they're still going to ban it out here in the second half. Shopify is still needing to pick both AD carry and support. Likely, I'm guessing, we're going to see the AD carry here on pick number 4 to try to get an advantageous matchup for the lane with support on pick 5. And they're really running the clock down with this one. They know they're up against a Corki, and the final answer is going to be the Kaisa for Bvoy.
All right, so we're just waiting for Seos for that last counter pick here down on the bot side. I wouldn't be surprised to just see like Renekton or Cassante or something like that from Bwipo up on the top side. Maybe he's going to try to really cook up a counter pick here and try to get a bit more creative. But things like that do seem pretty standard as far as the answers will go. This would be super spicy if they want to go for it. I'm not going to get baited until they lock it, though, because Inspired was hovering it for quite a long time. But again, it is something that he has been playing a ton of, and it is going to get locked. So we'll be Nidalee top here. He's going to be playing Grasp. It is, pretty much exclusively, AD Nidalee that they do go for. It is Triforce, and then people really diverge out from Triforce. Sometimes people go, really heavy into AD, Sundered Sky, and things like this. And sometimes people do just go more tanky from there. Or I've even seen like Triforce into kind of like AP to try to be more supportive later on. So this is going to be very, very interesting to see how it actually matches up. I haven't seen a ton of this matchup specifically against the Jayce, but you start W, you get your traps down in lane, and you're basically just looking for grasp autos non-stop. You actually max your E for a lot of sustain in the lane, and you basically are just trying to constantly be auto-attacking your opponent in lane, dipping in and out of the brushes, and using your move speed that you get through moving through brushes and also hitting traps, hitting spears, and things like that to really dominate that lane in the 1v1.
Well, here's what I am worried about looking at this composition right now from FlyQuest, Azael. There is just no engage almost at all, sans Azir diving in for a big shuffle. Nidalee has no CC. Azir has his ulti, but that's it. Corki, no CC. Braum's a disengager, but that's about it. And Zhao has conditional CC, needing to prime 3 Talon Strike or make sure that the target isn't marked. And I think last week we kind of got a taste of what these types of compositions can look like, even if it is a high-ranked team versus a lower-ranked team in the Cloud9 game where they drafted a very low-engage type of composition and struggled to get a good position in the game in their own matchup.
Yeah, I mean, it is going to be really interesting. Like you say, generally speaking, when you play these low/no engage comps, you kind of need to be winning, right? It's like, if you're not ahead, it's very difficult because you don't have the ability to start fights on a dime. You want to get ahead in the lane, you want to force your opponents to walk into you, then all of a sudden not having that engage really becomes less of a disadvantage. So we'll see if FlyQuest can do it. I'm really excited to actually see Bwipo bust out this Nidalee top here. It has popped up from time to time in pro play, but it has not really been very popular at all. And it is definitely a niche pick. So another exciting pick here coming out here from Bwipo.
So I'm really looking at this one as an opportunity for Shopify. I think that this is a team that has shown that they can move around the map, get some of those early leads like what you're talking about. You need to keep away from a draft like what FlyQuest has picked for themselves. And I want to see if Shopify can rise to the occasion here. The analysts' predictions, I think, are pretty spot on for what a lot of the community is expecting, which is a pretty one-sided matchup favoring FlyQuest, who have been at the top of the table, versus Shopify struggling a bit more. And we'll see if Shopify can get the early leads that can bring them a win here.
Yeah, this is actually the first Nidalee top in the LTA/LCS since 2014 summer.
Wow.
Seraph played it. Again, it has been played around the world. The Shy has been playing it. Zay has played a couple games of it. I know some other people have played it as well. So it's not like he's debuting this pick to the world. And this is something that you do see in solo queue from time to time. It has actually been in solo queue a decent bit over the last year or so, but still, it's pretty niche, and it's usually people who are like heavy Nidalee players that are the ones that are playing it. It's not just something that anyone will play. Going to be really interested to see how Bwipo does play this out. Another trick that you can actually do is if you want to prep your grasp, you can actually drop a trap on a jungle camp so that it spawns on that jungle camp as it starts. And then you'll see that he has a grasp proc ready. Doesn't look like he has that trap down, but then you can actually start the lane with the grasp auto immediately. So this is going to be fun. Both of them already do have that lane ward in that side brush. You can see that Shopify even went and put another one in that front brush for him to give him 2 wards there. That's really going to help out Fudge because Nidalee is constantly trying to auto you and then dip into that side brush to drop the aggro from the minions. But because there's this extra ward here, it actually makes a really big difference in these kind of matchups because the minions will maintain aggro on Bwipo when he's dodging into the side there.
Well, we'll keep track of how this lane bully versus lane bully matchup ends up going up here in the top side. But last week when we saw Shopify play their games in their series against Dignitas, they actually had leads in a lot of those games. And you can see here, they keep the game close for a while, right? At the Dignitas series, they were able to actually get out to some pretty meaningful leads before it crashed, but they'll keep the game close for a good long time. And then once they get near that 20-minute mark in the game, it seems like they have trouble figuring out what they want to do as a unit. What are the macro calls to then get further ahead or bring themselves back up to a better spot?
Yeah, I mean, they've had a lot of really competitive games. You know, you could see on the gold graph they got blown out by TL, but when you look at the time they played against FlyQuest last, they actually were ahead on gold at 30 minutes against FlyQuest. FlyQuest had created the small earlier advantage, but then Shopify was able to win some fights, you know, pull that back, get into a lead themselves. It ended up then being FlyQuest, you know, still had the Dragon advantage, took Soul, won the game, whatever. But they've been close against them at 30 minutes. Cloud9, they had a really tight game against Cloud9 at, you know, 25, 27 minutes. And Fudge barely surviving there, as it is just so hard in the 1v1 here against Bwipo. And you can see Contractz is moving around. They may TP aggressively and try to look for a play here, but it looks like mostly Contractz just wants to go and grab that top scuttle.
All right, Contractz making his way down into the river there. As you can see that Inspired is also on this side of the map. Teleport returning now from Fudge. As if Contractz moves up here, they might have the angle on Bwipo that they need. The Nidalee is pretty mobile. If nothing else, he should just have to spend Flash here. Stun coming out from the E. There you go. Escapes to the sky. Still takes the accelerated shock blast. So decent amount of damage. They get the summoner spell as well. But remember that Bwipo still has his teleport. So he'll just go ahead, go back to base, return here. And considering Fudge has already teleported and returned to lane, lost about 1/3 of his health, it's still going to be a good lane state for Bwipo.
It is, but it would have been really good because the wave is pushing away from him. So he probably during this lost about, you know, 3 melees or so, maybe even a little bit more than that. You can see the wave is going to be very beneficial for Fudge. And the fact they lost his flash means likely he has way less pressure to actually go for a solo kill or something like that. You know, he was able to push Fudge back, but this is going to buy a lot of time, a lot of relief there for him on the top side. And you can see Contractz is clearing his ward.
Meanwhile, 2v2 down here in bottom side. Bvoy could be in a little bit of danger as FlyQuest is not afraid to scrap with this Kaisa Rakan early on in the lane. Massu with the cleanse versus the barrier of Bvoy does mean Bvoy has some extra effective HP in that head-to-head, but we'll see now Inspired making an invade at the enemy jungle. He knows that his bottom lane is pushed up, and this could be set up for a dive.
Yeah, it absolutely could. And he also just knows he needs to get something on the other side of the map because Contractz went top twice, so you need to be taking jungle camps. You need to be doing something to get an advantage elsewhere. It will just be this Gromp. You know, maybe they look for an early dragon or something along those lines, but instead he is just going to go for a recall here. But those couple ganks towards topside definitely relieved the pressure there from Contractz. I did a good job. You know, the early buy from Fudge was literally just a tier and 2 more potions when he went back to base. So it was not a strong buy here for Fudge. And had he left that lane in isolation, Bwipo may have been able to really chip him down and extend that advantage. But you can see Bwipo still has Fudge under his tower and is going to be constantly looking for the harass here, as Palafox as well getting dangerously low.
Yeah, that's the second time now the camera has panned towards mid lane to see Fudge, or not Fudge, excuse me, Palafox on the losing end of one of these trades, getting knocked down to about 100 HP. Now he's going to be sent back to base, does have his teleport ready to use. And right now, we are already seeing one of the big differences of the new patch. You touched on it a little bit back during draft, but the Grubs are delayed. There is only the one set of them. They spawn at 8 minutes as opposed to 6. Normally at this point in the game, in previous weeks, we were seeing bot laners do their late swap up towards the top side to contest for the first set of Grubs. They both just took recalls. They're both heading back down into bot lane.
And I think for some people, they may be saying, well, why does that matter? Well, I think even in the picks, it mattered, because I don't know if Bwipo would have gone towards Nidalee if it was on that previous patch, because what would happen is you'd have to lane swap out, you know, and you get in these situations where you can't have that extended, isolated 1v1 that the Nidalee really does want. So I do think it really can have some pretty big knock-on effects on not just, you know, how you're setting up for objectives, but also what picks can become more viable. So we will see if Bwipo can continue to kind of build an edge. The CS is just dead even up on top side, but he is getting the push. He has taken 1 plate, and he is slowly whittling away at Fudge, but Fudge has done a pretty good job keeping his HP high. He has gone through both of his potions now, does have the 1 biscuit.
Oh, nice knockback into the turret there for the extra turret shot to make the trade more even than it otherwise would be. It's still a 1 trade for Bwipo, but if it wasn't for the turret shot, that would feel real nasty for
You can see he's 3 points E right now. Exactly, yeah. If he didn't get him that knockback into the tower, it could have been a lot harder, but he's even going to be able to grab some fruit here. Fudge doesn't quite make it till his TP is back, and Bwipo, again, because you have that E max, you push that wave so fast. Like, look at how much damage that E did to the wave. You're constantly going to be getting that shoved in. We'll see if he actually wants to stay for a plate. I'm not sure if he's playing Demolish or not. Usually they do. Would assume he is, yep. So he is going to be playing Demolish, E for the attack speed, get another plate here. And now the lane swap is coming through on a later timing here for the Grubs. So we'll see if Bwipo does go bot to match and if Massu and Busio are coming up here to try to contest those Grubs. But Bwipo's recall will be delayed, and we'll see if he gets stopped again. If he gets stopped again, it could be quite annoying, but it doesn't look like they're going to check.
Yeah, one of the things I was curious about coming into this week is how often would we see teams care about the Dragon early on with the absence of the Grub's presence there. And it looks like this time around, it's not a ton of priority onto it. Inspired is just going to settle with taking the Drake here, almost just as that first set of Grubs still spawns. But Shopify have moved their duo up into the top side of the map. Massu and Inspired will take the Drake. Bvoy and Seos cashing in on a top lane turret.
So Bwipo base started running back top, and it was a very late recall and reset here from Massu and Busio. And then as Bwipo started running back top, he then decided, okay, no, actually I'm going down to bot. It's going to be Busio moving up towards top. So this reset ended up being quite late from Shopify.
Now, important to point out, you get the Feats of Warfare for 2 Grubs now. It's rewarded for whichever side gets a majority of the Grubs, as FlyQuest stepping up to try to contest Shopify, who have already secured the second. Nice engage coming out from Contractz, but where's the rest of the damage? They don't have the burst. The first blood already finds its way into Massu's pockets. As Shopify, they won't get any kills. They lose Seos, but they do collect all 3 Grubs in trade.
Yeah, nicely done. Shopify definitely ahead of the pace on that tempo. You know, they lose Seos, but we'll see if they can get anything more on the way out.
Palafox with a stolen Xin Zhao ultimate.
Need to run.
Okay, yeah. Shopify's just going to back off from it.
Yeah, that's really good from Shopify. I think you're pretty happy to take that trade. Getting all 3 Grubs means you get the Void Might spawn. It is not like the old ones where you have to actually get part of the second pack of Grubs to be able to get the Void Might spawn. Of course, 3 is not as strong as 6 was on the old patch, but 3 is much stronger than 3 used to be on the old patch.
Right.
And this just was Seos here, you know, on the turn, goes in here off of Contractz' ulti. They try to get some damage down onto Inspired, but Busio is there to cover. Inspired has the ulti. You're never really even close to actually being able to knock him down. But it buys time for them to get the Grubs. And they did get a plate top, so they were able to get some gold off of that because FlyQuest bot lane, as I was talking about earlier, you know, reset very late to actually match the swap. So at the end of the day, I still think it is quite a good play for Shopify.
Yeah, I don't think you're complaining about that if you're Shopify at all. Palafox just trying to clear out this large wave that's stacked up, wants to use the stolen Crescent Guard to just knock away most of those, farm up whatever he can. Speaking of farming, Bwipo is doing just that down here in bottom lane. Plenty of alone time here with the turret ready to take out these plates. On Nidalee in solo queue, not the greatest record, but I feel like it's also one of those things that you just got to
improve.
Put the reps on. Also, I feel like in solo queue, the problem with locking in Nidalee top is once 25 minutes hits, you're still Nidalee top, and you can't really trust the rest of your team to be able to, like, end the game coherently.
I will say that's also a problem in pro play, though. You are still Nidalee top.
Okay.
You don't get to transition into Kale in pro play.
We'll see.
But no, I hear you. I mean, it's like, you know, the idea being if you're building advantages, that means more in pro because you can capitalize on it more regularly or whatever. Bwipo is also just, he's a fun player to watch in solo queue because I feel like this guy is either going 10-0 or he's going 0-10 every single game.
Pushing the limits.
Exactly. He's pushing the limits. So, you know, it doesn't shock me that he doesn't have the best win rate on it or whatever, but it has been fun to watch him play it, and I have seen him have some pretty good games on his stream.
All right, so let's see what Massu and Busio can get done up here in this top side of the map. Worth noting also, Rift Herald spawning at 15 minutes now, so we'll see if that turns into anything especially interesting in terms of the timers. It probably won't in this game just because of the fact that that first dragon wasn't taken early. Second dragon's going to be spawning here in 2 minutes, and then it's still another 2 minutes away until the Herald rears its head. Bwipo versus Fudge down here on the bottom side. Fudge finally grabbing a bit of an advantageous trade there, but unfortunately for him, it's right around the time when Bwipo's happy to go back anyway.
Yeah, it seemed like Bwipo was respecting that very heavily, so maybe was nervous that someone was actually behind him there. You can also see that Fudge obviously has the Executioners now, so Bwipo doesn't really want to be healing when he's actually fighting him. He wants to be able to actually back off, let that debuff fall, then use the heal. But Fudge is going to get pushed. We don't know exactly where Contractz was. We just know he was heading down towards bot lane, and there he is.
Oh, Contractz misses the Sejuani ulti, and Bwipo's trying to flash early to get away from some of the dive, but Seos is ready to back him up. And Shopify Rebellion sent down 3 to find the first kill, but now Inspired is fighting back, looking to get some sort of a vengeance here for his fallen top laner. Contractz down to 300 HP, finds the stun as Seos is absorbing the damage from the turret, but Inspired has already picked up 1. Busio tags a second now with a Winter's Bite. Seos has to try to escape, and Inspired needs a win, becomes lightning, but Contractz with a very nice sidestep. It's not going to be enough. The feat of warfare claimed by FlyQuest as Shopify Rebellion is sent packing.
Nicely done there by FlyQuest. Inspired able to get in, and then the roam down. They will lose one plate mid lane, but Bwipo can actually TP out and cover mid there from Bvoy. So really well done overall. Yeah, Bwipo dies, but Massu's farming plates and bot. They got multiple kills back. They forced out multiple flashes as well. You know, both Fudge and Contractz had to flash, so it's just a trade of flashes. They're getting more off of the extended play, as it looks like Massu is going to be able to actually claim this, and that should be the feats of strength as they grab the first tower here. And that is going to be really nice. Again, on this patch, the upgraded boots, much stronger. They're only 500 gold. You know, they were a lot more expensive last patch. A couple hundred gold taken off that in the patch. So getting that feats, I do think, is more impactful. Nice little sidestep there. Well, really, Contractz kind of just missed it, let's be honest. And it could have forced the flash earlier, potentially, if it was on target, but either way, it did not land. Inspired played this very, very well, though. As soon as Contractz is out of range of the tower, he sees the tower aggro swap to Fudge, and then gets the knock-up on Fudge, forcing his flash and getting an extra tower shot onto him. And then it's just the chase down here. Busio tags Sylas for the slow. Contractz, good sidestep on the W, but just doesn't matter. You're going to get ran down there.
Okay, Sedge is going to die to my spells.
He was right. Sedge was going to die to those spells.
Well, was he right? Did he die to a spell or an auto attack?
Well, the spells did most of the work. The auto attack just KS'd it.
Oh, okay.
All right, the spells.
Okay. You just don't want to give credit to the honest auto attacks.
No, all right.
Man, you know?
This is auto attack disrespect.
Yeah.
All right. Well, technically, if you're Zhao, your auto attacks and spells can be the same thing because of Q.
True. If you press Q, but it's still an auto attack. Your spell is just enhancing the work.
Enchanted by a spell.
It's like you're digging, but now you're digging with a shovel.
If you have a magic sword, it's still a magic item, even though it's still a sword. The same rule applies to spears.
So you're saying it's no longer an auto attack?
No, it's an auto attack and a spell. It's an auto attack, blessed or enchanted, depending on which you prefer.
Which is it more of?
It's a spell because it doesn't do anything special if there's no Q on it. It's a spell.
It's more of an auto attack.
No, it's a spell, man. Okay. All right. Well,
we're gonna have to ask the Twitch chat experts here.
We got FlyQuest coming out for a dive.
Q and auto attacks. Is it more of an auto attack or more of a spell?
It's a spell because it doesn't do anything special if you didn't press Q. Okay. All right. We're back in bottom lane. Otacon's pit is in the bottom side of the map. Shelly's going to spawn here in about 10 seconds. Otacon going to spawn in 5 minutes. We'll talk more about Otacon a little bit closer to when he spawns, because he is also very different now on the new map. But Herald is now spawned. Shopify not going to allow FlyQuest to go ahead and start that one up. Quad sent one soldier in there after it and then immediately decided to back away. Seos is back in his own jungle, now backing up a little bit himself, as Inspired has his ulti stolen by the Sylas. FlyQuest going to force down the tier 1 turret here. A nice shuffle coming out from Quad. Forces summoner spells back out of Bvoy, but now Inspired in trouble in the back line as Bvoy barely survives, and Massu's going to get shut down. Inspired could be in some danger now too. Lots of damage coming in from Shopify Rebellion. They've already found 2 kills, and Palafox wants to make it a 3rd. He claims Busio's life, and now another death's going to pour in as Quad will fall as well. It's absolute disaster for FlyQuest as Shopify Rebellion punish their greed.
Yeah, FlyQuest way overforced there. They don't even have TP available on Bwipo, so he was never going to be able to join there. And they are just going so deep for that kill onto Bvoy, they can't even get it. Let's watch it one more time. Fudge was back at base, but he has the teleport available. They could have just taken the tower and backed off. Instead, they get the knock-in on Bvoy here. This is where the overchase begins. Massu flashes forward after the flash from Bvoy there, trying to finish him off, but Fudge arrives, Seos peels, they knock down Massu, and then Quad here trying to stand and fight after the backside had already been lost to that fight. He goes down as well, 4 for 0. We're back to live. Can Bwipo get anything? I don't think so.
He's in a 1v5, man. I know that top lane Nidalee can bully in a 1v1, but 1v5 not quite. Also, by the way, I was just updated. According to the public poll, 53% of people agree it's a spell, Isaac. It has magical powers.
The majority aren't always right.
No,
the 47%, those are the scholars in the chat.
Stop the count. It's 53 to 47. I was right. It's a spell. Otherwise, it's just a stick. Without the magic, it's just a stick.
It's an auto attack.
Nope, it's a spell. It's an auto attack enchanted by the magic of a spell. I can agree that you are sorely and sadly mistaken, and I will forgive you for that. because I am a good friend, and that's what good friends do. It's a kind of, friendship is a kind of magic, just like the spell that is Xin Zhao's Q. Now that we've resolved this problem, this conflict, this bit of PvP here on the desk, let's get back to the PvP in the game, because FlyQuest, despite the fact that they just had a massive blunder in the mid lane, are still ahead in gold.
They are still ahead in gold, but they do still have Nidalee top. And I feel like that is a significant debuff to your team fighting later on. You know, Nidalee can, it's not like you can't do anything, but it is really hard as AD Nidalee to actually get in there. You can't just like 100-0 people by hitting some like juicy spear. You don't have a lot of AP to actually be able to just kind of like play the supportive role and heal people up. You kind of need to scrap, but in a 5v5, you're generally not tanky enough to actually get in there and scrap. So usually when I see AD Nidalee, you kind of just have to keep walking down the side lanes and trying to get 1v1s and trying to find fights. But he's actually down on gold compared to where Fudge is, so hasn't really been able to create a meaningful advantage. You know, Fudge, that TP play, was able to make something happen, and Contractz early was able to relieve some of the pressure up on that top side. FlyQuest definitely still have a chance, but it's going to be tough. I mean, that mid lane play was really bad for FlyQuest. They way overextended. They could have just taken the win off of, okay, great, we forced Bvoy's flash. Okay, great, we took the tier 1 tower. Okay, great, Bwipo was pushing bot. Like, those are all wins, but they tried to go for so much more and lost it all.
It seemed to me like the big failure point was just the fact that Quad went in slightly too early for the shuffle on Bvoy, because then they had to spend 2 more auto attacks to kill the turret instead of him. He barely escaped, and it just all collapsed. But now, FlyQuest have already claimed the first 2 Drakes. Shopify want to stop their stack, but FlyQuest are not willing to allow them to do such a thing, as now they're taking over the Drake pit. The Drake already down to about 4,000 HP. Seos and Contractz, keep your eyes on them here for the engage. Busio has already thrown up the shield. Contractz gets an ulti, but it doesn't do a whole lot. The Chemtech Drake going to be secured by Quad and the rest of FlyQuest, as Contractz is left to the wolves. Shopify Rebellion just fall apart here fighting for this. The Dragon goes over to FlyQuest. The kill also looking pretty good for their side, but not quite going to come through.
It's so interesting, you know, how Shopify decided to play this out, because they weren't willing to give the tier 2 top, which is obviously a lot of gold to give over to Bwipo. But I feel like if you just bring Palafox to the fight, you win the fight for sure. Yes, you will lose your tier 2 top, but you're probably going to be able to get something more on the other side. It's just kind of interesting because they decided to actually match, which I think is really advantageous for FlyQuest. Bwipo really can't do a lot if he showed up to the 5v5, whereas I think Palafox can. So ended up just being this scrap in the side lane, and now Massu is here. He could be in trouble.
Yeah, Palafox, not long for this world. A stolen Corki ulti's not getting you out of that one, and Massu collects another kill for his team.
Yeah, that is really good. They get that kill in the side lane. They already have this tower very low. They are going to have to back it up here, as Contractz is around as his Bvoy. Shopify now sending multiple members top, but FlyQuest has now reestablished a pretty significant gold lead here, up to 2.2k. Massu very far ahead of where Bvoy is. He's sitting at 3-1, 1.6k ahead, almost the entire gold lead, it really feels like, for FlyQuest.
FlyQuest with 2.2k, feeling just absolutely great about the current state of things. Otacon is alive, so let's talk about him a little bit. It's not the 2 different kinds like it was in the last split.
Thornbound.
It's Thornbound Otacon instead. He's got a couple of new shiny powers, including the ability to have a pretty impressive takedown effect once he's claimed.
Yeah, so basically it is like the Flowers one from before, but Thornbound is a little bit different. Basically what it does, instead of spawning this big kind of grove of flowers, the 30 flowers that you could pick up before, now it just sucks up all the flowers on the map, so you get 30 flowers less. You are getting a lot less experience, as well as adaptive force, as Bwipo scrapping here with Fudge.
Yeah, Bwipo versus Fudge is not a winning matchup right now. Fudge forcing the flash out of Bwipo.
Well, he could walk into Sylas.
This is a problem for the FlyQuest top laner. If you can't win the 1v1s, the Nidalee just feels so troubled, but the nice use of the Blast Cone gets Bwipo away.
Yeah, that feels really bad for Palafox, who actually flashed there as well. But yeah, so you are minus 30 on the flowers, but we will get to it. I just don't want to be interrupted by a fight. So yeah, so basically what you are gaining though is the automatic pickup of all the flowers. So if you get the smite, you get that. That is automatic. You also do get this takedown proc, like you were talking about, which is about 650 units in range when you get a takedown. You also get a 60% slow for 1.5 seconds, and you get 15% current health damage done to your enemies. So when you start to win a fight, you really start to win that fight even harder. But you are getting less experience, a less adaptive force, so there is that trade-off. I do think it is weaker than the previous version when you claim it, but it does have some different powers.
I'll be excited to see when we first get to see that chain effect in a team fight really be the difference maker, because a 60% slow for 1.5 seconds is not negligible. Like that is a severe like hamstring.
And I have seen some crazy moments for reset champions. I saw a Katarina game where they get that, and then Katarina gets a kill. AoE damage, AoE slow. That puts you even closer to your next kill. Even more AoE damage, AoE slow. You know, these kind of champions that have the resets. Nefuri as well, obviously nerfed on this patch, but I've seen Nefuri have some pretty crazy moments with those resets. I do think those style of champions, it can be really, really powerful. And even sometimes just getting that first kill means the slows start chaining, and the AD carry is just going to be able to always stay in range and keep getting those auto attacks out. So it definitely can be beneficial. But of course, when you're looking at like win rates and things like that, base stats are always going to kind of reign supreme because they're just always going to have that effectiveness, you know?
All right, FlyQuest with a 1,500 gold lead. Nothing that's going to allow them to just play the game however they want. They seem to be very respectful of the Shopify Rebellion comp. And again, I want to remind everybody, FlyQuest want to be at objectives first. Their lack of engage means it's difficult for them to just walk up to Shopify. And right now, it's the Rebellion with control over the Otacon pit.
It absolutely is. And just to touch on the AD carry builds here, we have the full AD Kaisa here with the IE completed. And over on the other side, Massu did, you know, BT, has the collector, is going to be going for an IE third. More people have been experimenting with just kind of the BT first, as Bwipo may be going down here. He's got to run.
Yeah, Fudge doing a good job here in this trade at the start. Gets the 1v1 against Bwipo's Nidalee. Fudge comes out on top. Quad makes the TP up into the top side of the map to guarantee that it's an even trade 1-for-1. But considering the enemy top laner is dead and the enemy mid laner just teleported to the other side of the map, the remainder of Shopify Rebellion is making the call to go for the Thornbound Otacon. Palafox is coming in over the wall to try to contest Inspired. They can't allow him to be able to steal this one away. They're all going to dive in, switch the focus over onto Inspired. Instead, but he steals it away. Inspired steals the objective, and now Massu's in a killing spree. He might just go even further. Shopify Rebellion crumble. Inspired, the hero of the day, a triple kill over to Massu as the dust settles, and it's about to be one more on top. Palafox trying to sneak through the brushes, but he shoots him right in the face, point blank range with the Corki gun. There's no way out. That is it.
Yeah, that is devastation for Shopify there. It all came down to the smite. Inspired got turned on. They try to actually focus on him, but at the same time, Otacon's going to continue dealing damage here. Massu is free-firing this whole time. Look at Massu just sitting there comfortably, getting damage out. You know, Inspired gets the W here into the smite, is able to secure it. Contractz cannot get it, and again, you instantly get all of the flower buffs. You instantly get that takedown buff that we're seeing, that little pop, that AoE pop that is coming through. And Massu with the BT there, very tanky. You know, more and more people have been trying this build on different ADs instead of just MF, getting an early Bloodthirster. It just gives you so much strength in a lot of these situations, and now he has the IE completed as well. He is massive. Deathcap's done in the mid lane there for Quad, and this is a FlyQuest really running away with it.
And you could read the words on DeMonte's mouth. There was frustration in the eyes and hearts of Shopify.
I wish that went the other way.
Yup. That's such a frustrating experience, though, because you have to think, if you got it, maybe the fight goes a little bit different. Maybe it was winnable from that point, but just those big moments, the smite steal away, Inspired coming up clutch when it matters, and now FlyQuest have a Dragon Soul. They have an Otacon buff. They have a 5,000 gold lead. They have everything they possibly need, and Shopify Rebellion needs some kind of a miracle. They need another massive FlyQuest blunder, another massive overplay that they can punish, and then get Baron or push all the way down one lane and grab an inhib or something really meaningful.
Yeah, it's going to be very tough. You know, Fudge has actually been, I think, much more effective than Bwipo for the most part in the side lane, but it just hasn't really mattered here, and it's going to be another fight. Seos in trouble.
Yeah, Seos is going to die before anybody else can even do anything with the Rakan engage. Just getting caught out there, and now FlyQuest moving up to continue their work on the turrets. Bwipo, free firing time on that tier 2 up there, claims that, brings the gold lead up to 6,500 as the rest of FlyQuest will move on over to the Baron. Taking this is great for them, and it also removes one of those comeback conditions from Shopify if they were to win a fight later on. Bvoy is going to walk up, try to check the area, immediately finds Busio waiting for him there with a winner's bite. Fudge versus Bwipo. Bvoy swooping in here with a killer instinct. One more shot's going to get him. Bwipo did not managed to flash over the wall. So the first kill goes to Shopify Rebellion as Palafox does not end up getting stunned by the fourth and final hit there with a Winter's Bite. Busio trying to get away. They want to go in after Quad, but a nice use of stasis keeps him alive. Massu going godlike. They've already killed 2 on the side of Shopify. Double kill over to Massu. The Corki is absolutely massive. Palafox needs a little bit more damage, but he ain't going to find enough. Contractz will die next. Everybody on Shopify is way too squishy for the 10-1 Massu Corki, and FlyQuest wipes the fight.
Yeah, Massu is just going crazy in this game. He has just been untouched. It feels like the focus is on other players, but they can't make it happen. They get this initial pick here onto Bwipo. Fudge goes in, gets the knockback, which applies the plasma. In comes Bvoy. Fudge, isn't able to actually finish off the kill himself, but it just doesn't even matter because Bwipo is trying to get to a wall, trying to flash over, can't actually find the angle, flashes into the wall, goes down, and Shopify here decide, you know what, we're just going to try to make the fight happen, but look at the timing from Quad. As that ult is coming in from Contractz, and as the flash chains are coming from Palafox, he just stasis it, immunes both. All of those tools get spent trying to take down Quad, and meanwhile, Massu is completely ignored, just wiping the entire fight. It really all came down to Quad very quick on the Seeker's arm guard. Perfect timing.
Yeah, really good response from him as now he has to try to get away. Shopify trying to make their move back here in the mid lane as Quad dashes back over the wall. Busio should die here. Quad falling back to the safety of Inspired and Bwipo. FlyQuest now in a 3v5 in the mid lane, now a 4v5 with Massu ready to join, and honestly, they like those odds. Bvoy has to get away from the Sun Disc as Inspired keeps chasing after Palafox. Contractz defensive ulti to try to get him and the rest of the team out, but Massu's not going to allow it. Legendary Corki in the mid lane. FlyQuest have a 4v4 game, and they're smashing their way into the enemy base. The first inhibitor is already down in mid, and in bottom lane, the wave is just about ready to crash into the tier 3 turret next.
Yeah, Shopify gonna try to defend here, but I don't think they have the gas to be able to hold on for very long. They're going to have to give this inhib very likely. They're waiting for Contractz up in 20 seconds. Busio just respawning now, so it is going to be a 5v4, potentially briefly if they overstay, but they are just going to back off instead. And we'll see if Shopify can find any sort of a chase. Doesn't look like there's going to be an angle for it.
No, there's just... If you try to chase after them, if you try to walk into any fog on the map, there's a chance you've just got a Corki waiting there for you. Braum tags you with Winter's Bite. Sorry, you're dead. Massu is so far ahead this game. And honestly, Quad is too... And Inspired is too... And Boost... Everybody that's not Bwipo on Nidalee, who has been kind of the sacrificial lamb, he just draws aggro, people kill him. He's like, "Aw, rats, you got me." And then the rest of the team wins. Yeah, exactly. The sacrificial cat up in the top lane. He has gone more towards that full, like, heavy AD bruiser style that you were talking about with the Sundered Sky and the Sterix, so it's harder to kill him. But his job is just to be a nuisance, provide a little bit of pressure. The job's been done at this point. They're 11,000 gold ahead. There's 1 minute and 15 seconds till the Elder Dragon spawns, but honestly, I don't think FlyQuest need it. You just keep them locked up here in the base, you force the end, and I don't see a world where Shopify is able to do a whole lot of anything about it.
I mean, just Massu is so tough to take down. Now he has a full shield bow plus the Bloodthirster shield. He'll have his cleanse back soon. He has his flash. He's going to be almost impossible to take out. There's a Mikhail's and a Locket on Busio. He's going to be protecting him. Yeah. If you can't kill Massu, you just can't win the fight, and I just don't think they have the tools or the damage to really be able to do it unless Massu just like Valks in the middle of 5 people.
Yeah, Massu would have to make a pretty serious error, but right now it's all 3 inhibitors down. FlyQuest on the victory push. Shopify have 1 fight left, but the health bars are just getting chipped away before the fight can even start. Bwipo and Massu just poking at these guys as the first Nexus turret is already about to die. It's going to drop right there before the fight even starts. Contractz and Seos have to find their way in. Seos gets a knock up onto Quad, but it's not going to matter as Massu's already killed him. Double kill for the Corki. Bvoy with a killer instinct is going nowhere fast. The stasis isn't going to work. Quad even lives through it. Only 2 left alive on Shopify Rebellion, but the Nexus turrets are down. FlyQuest will look to pick up whatever they can here on the steps and pad those stats, but 19-8, FlyQuest take game 1.
Nicely done by FlyQuest, but it's another game you have to think from Shopify's point of view where they had some real chances. After that big fight they won mid lane where they got a 4-for-0 when Bwipo was in the side lane, it looked like Shopify had a real shot at actually winning this game and starting off the series with a bang. But FlyQuest, they battle back, they show their class, they get the smite, won by Inspired at the Otacon, they wiped that fight, and from there it just felt like they straight up took over.
It was another tough one for Shopify because of what you're talking about with the fact that there were moments, there were angles, there were opportunities. But the big one that I look at is going to be that Otacon fight specifically. It looked like they had the angle. The enemy top laner's dead. The enemy mid laner's on the other side of the map, but Inspired showed up and clutched it out. During LTA North Split 2, you could win a trip to a League of Legends event or a set of Player of the Week statues. Use your MasterCard to make a purchase from the in-client store and save your card on file to be entered for a chance to win. And now, with game 1 done, we're going to head on over to the LTA Lounge